This poor girl has applied for jobs at many companies but failed, but she always believes that if she perseveres, she will succeed one day. Today, she was standing on the bus when suddenly from afar a car flew towards her. Yo-rum stood there, stunned. The car hit the ground hard and then quickly rolled towards Yo-rum at a speed of 5 meters per second. Yo-rum was so scared that her eyes widened, her whole body stiffened, not knowing where to run. The car got closer and closer to Yo-rum. When it was only a meter away from Yo-rum, a mysterious man suddenly appeared and hugged her. Then he turned around and avoided the car. The car collided with the bus stop with great force. The glass shattered into hundreds of small pieces. Just when the two of them thought they were safe, danger was next. Still getting closer, the car passed through the bus stop. When the front of the car hit the ground, the back of the car slowly hit the two of them. After a long while, the two of them were still safe and sound. When Yo-rum opened her eyes and saw the scene before her, she was even more surprised. The guy in front of her was able to support a car weighing several tons with just one arm. At this moment, Einstein's theory of relativity was no longer valid. However, because Yo-rum had a head injury, she had not yet seen the face of the guy who saved her before she fainted. When she woke up, Yo-rum did not have time to bandage her wound and rushed to the airport because she had been waiting for this interview opportunity for 3 years. The interviewers, upon seeing Yo-rum's bleeding head, advised her to go to the hospital first, but Yo-rum insisted on finishing the interview before going to the hospital. But before Yo-rum could say a few words, she fainted. Yo-rum's tenacious spirit moved the female leader. Just like that, the clumsy Yo-rum was hired to work in passenger service at the airport. But on her first day at work, Yo-rum encountered trouble at the airport. A man kept hitting the automatic check-in machine with his suitcase. It turned out that he was dissatisfied with the discriminatory behavior of the airport staff because others could go to the counter to get tickets while he had to do it at this machine. After knowing the reason, Yo-rum hurriedly went to explain, but the man did not want to listen to a lowly employee's explanation. He just picked up his suitcase and destroyed it in front of Yo-rum. Yo-rum went up to stop him, but her strength was not enough to stop this man. Finally, Yo-rum could not hold it in any longer and opened her mouth to curse the man. This time, he was really angry, so he immediately grabbed Yo-rum's collar. Yo-rum couldn't help but push his hand away. He was so angry that he was about to hit Yo-rum when Suyeon suddenly appeared. Suyeon grabbed the man's wrist. The man wanted to pull his hand away, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't do anything. Suyeon was extremely calm and composed at this moment. At this moment, Suyeon asked the man if he knew that the automatic check-in machine cost 20 million won. The man had broken 3 machines, so it was about 60 million won. Hearing the number 60 million won, the man was scared and quickly lowered his voice to ask what Suyeon wanted in the end. Suyeon slowly leaned into the man's ear and said, "You're done for." Immediately after, the man was taken away by the airport security staff. Yo-rum went up to thank Suyeon for helping her. Yo-rum asked Suyeon which airline he usually flew with. She wanted to give him some benefits as a thank you, but Suyeon took out his employee card. He introduced himself as working in the customer service department. Unexpectedly, the two of them were colleagues. After the superior found out about the man who broke 3 automatic check-in machines, he scolded Yo-rum. Yo-rum did nothing wrong but was scolded unjustly, so she was very angry. She went to find her close friend who worked at the airport like her to confide in. Yo-rum's best friend Unsub heard the story and then told the story of Suyeon. Suyeon was a good learner, but he didn't get along with anyone. Suyeon also treated the people around him very coldly. Before that, an unexpected incident happened at the airport that made everyone working at the airport know about Suyeon. At that time, during the luggage transportation process, due to the urgent time, an employee pushed the luggage cart very fast. At this time, a child stood in front of him, but because his vision was blocked, he didn't see the child. At the dangerous moment, Suyeon suddenly rushed over. At this time, everyone was surprised by the scene they saw. Suyeon used his hand to block the luggage cart. The iron bar that Suyeon held was dented and deformed. This strength was truly terrifying. After Suyeon left with the child, all the suitcases slowly fell to the ground. Thanks to this incident, everyone working at the airport knew Suyeon, but what they didn't know was that Suyeon was a first-class disabled person. 10 years ago, due to a traffic accident, Suyeon lost an arm and a leg. Because Suyeon was fitted with a prosthetic arm and leg made of metal, so he had such boundless strength. That day, Suyeon was standing under the porch, taking shelter from the rain, when Yo-rum accidentally splashed rainwater on his sleeve. While Yo-rum was bowing her head repeatedly to apologize, her necklace was suddenly sucked into Suyeon's hand. Suyeon then took the necklace out and returned it to Yo-rum. Yo-rum was so surprised by the scene before her that she stood still. Suyeon was originally a cold person, so he didn't say anything more and took his umbrella and left. After work, Suyeon met Yo-rum again. Yo-rum recognized Suyeon at first sight. Unexpectedly, Yo-rum was in the same department as Suyeon. It seemed that fate had once again locked the two of them together. From there, their story officially began. Not long after, an old woman loses her child at the airport. She quickly asked Soo-yeon for help. At this time, Yo-rum also came to help, but when Yo-rum knew that the son was already 31 years old, Yo-rum was extremely surprised. Yo-rum thought Soo-yeon was joking. How could a 31-year-old adult get lost? Soo-yeon immediately showed Yo-rum the lost man's medical records. After Yo-rum looked at the medical records, she immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. It turned out that the lost man was a mentally ill patient. If he was not found soon, something unexpected might happen. After receiving the news, the superior immediately ordered all the staff to search for this man. The only clue was that the lost man was wearing a yellow shirt. Yo-rum and Soo-yeon were in a group. When Soo-yeon went to the restroom to check, Yo-rum suddenly saw a man in a yellow shirt in front of her. So Yo-rum did not wait for Soo-yeon to come out and chased after him alone. When Soo-yeon came out of the restroom, he saw that Yo-rum had already left. At this time, not far away, a man called the airport staff back. His eyes glanced around. He asked the airport staff why the flight schedule had changed. As the staff was answering, his face started to twitch and he started to go crazy. He said, "Who told you that you could do that? How dare you change your flight without telling me?" The man's unusual actions and way of speaking caught Yo-rum's attention. Perhaps he was the person Yo-rum was looking for. Suddenly, he went crazy and started hitting the airport staff. Yo-rum rushed over to advise him. He thought Yo-rum was a doctor who came to take him away, so he became even more out of control. He pulled out the metal pole next to him and rushed towards Yo-rum. At this moment, Soo-yeon suddenly appeared and hugged Yo-rum to protect. Then Soo-yeon raised her hand to take the man's blow. But the strange thing was that the iron pole suddenly bent at a 90-degree angle. Obviously, this was not reasonable at all. Seeing this, the mentally ill patient was scared, but Soo-yeon was very calm. There was not a single wound on Soo-yeon's body. When Yo-rum was protected by Soo-yeon, Yo-rum immediately remembered what happened a few years ago. It seemed like she had met him before. It turned out that a year ago, when Yo-ram was at the bus stop, a car had an accident and flipped over. When it was about to hit Yo-ram, Soo-yeon appeared in time and used his arm to block the flying car and saved her. After returning home, Yo-ram remembered the scene at the airport. Yo-ram was sure that Soo-yeon was the one who saved her that year, so she went to find him. Yo-ram asked Soo-yeon if he had saved her before, but Soo-yeon denied it and said that they had never met before. But through what had just happened, Yo-ram did not believe Soo-yeon's words. Soo-yeon hid this because his metal arm had 66 smart chips connected to his nerves. Although he had superhuman strength, his body was different from normal people, making him extremely self-conscious. In order to not let others discover that his body was abnormal, he lived coldly and tried to keep his distance from others. Even if they were his colleagues, he still maintained a cold attitude. At mealtime, a colleague wanted to eat with him, but he did not eat with his colleagues, so he took the food tray and went somewhere else. Then he went to cook noodles by himself. At that moment, Yo-rum saw this scene. Seeing that Soo-yeon did not eat lunch, Yo-rum specially bought bread for him. Unexpectedly, when Yo-rum poured hot water to mix the noodles, she accidentally spilled the whole cup of noodles. Soo-yeon quickly reached out to catch it. A second later, his hand was burned until it was red. Yo-rum was scared and quickly took out ice to apply to Soo-yeon's hand. But he said, "I don't feel any pain." Yo-rum asked Soo-yeon over and over again if it hurt, but his answer remained the same. Yo-rum was extremely surprised, so she slapped him. Soo-yeon angrily explained that only his right hand and arm didn't feel any pain. Only then did Yo-rum realize that she had been a bit heavy-handed, so she quickly apologized to Soo-yeon. At this moment, Soo-yeon saw the silly Yo-rum and suddenly smiled. That day, the airport's customer service department suddenly received a threatening phone call. A mysterious man announced that he had planted a bomb in the airport. Yo-rum was working when she saw a man acting suspiciously. He was secretly putting a black bag in the trash. Yo-rum was very curious, so she carefully opened the black bag to see what was inside. Yo-rum was very surprised to see the item inside the bag. She then called the customs police to come and see. When they saw the item inside the black bag, they were also very surprised. Unexpectedly, the bag contained gold bars worth billions of won. The police then took the gold away. Not long after, a couple appeared. They were sneaking around looking for trash cans. It seemed like they were looking for something. While they were making a phone call, Yo-rum, who was standing next to them, accidentally overheard their conversation. She was sure that they had something to do with the gold bars. At this moment, Soo-yeon suddenly appeared, so Yo-rum quickly told him about it. But Soo-yeon told Yo-rum that this was a matter for the customs and had nothing to do with their work. But Yo-rum thought that this was more important than the work they were doing. Moreover, she always wanted to be praised by her superiors, so she couldn't let this opportunity go by easily. So she went to the security room at the airport and told them about it. When she got back to her office, she felt like she had just accomplished something great. Seeing that there was no one in the room, she jumped around to celebrate. But at that moment, her team leader leader, So-kun, walked in. Yoram happily went over to tell So-kun what she had just done. Yoram thought that she would be praised by the team leader, but So-kun didn't think so. So-kun asked Yoram how her work was going. Yoram didn't know what to say. So-kun continued, asking if Yoram was letting Soo-yeon manage such a large area. Yoram realized that she had neglected her work. She was very upset. Then she went to see Soo-yeon, who was working alone. Yoram thought that Soo-yeon was highly educated and was loved by the team leader, but she was incompetent and liked to cause trouble. Only when she tried to achieve some achievements would she not be bullied by others. But Yoram's thought was opposed by Soo-yeon. Not getting any sympathy, Yoram was very upset. Because of that, Yoram and Soo-yeon had a heated argument. After that, the two of them angrily separated to work. Another customer service area received a threatening phone call. The stranger said that the airport would explode in half an hour. At this time, Soo-yeon went to the break room to drink water when he suddenly heard someone calling on the phone. At this time, the terrorist caller was also caught red-handed by Soo-yeon. When Soo-yeon turned on the light, he saw a boy who looked like a high school student. The boy arrogantly told Soo-yeon to get out and not to meddle in other people's business. But Soo-yeon still stood there silently, without saying anything. When the boy was smugly preparing to leave, Soo-yeon immediately took action. Soo-yeon grabbed the boy's collar and threw him to the ground. Then Soo-yeon dragged the boy out into the hallway. Soo-yeon used only one arm to pin the boy against the wall. It turned out that the boy didn't want to go on a free trip to Japan with his parents, so he played this malicious prank, and his parents were the two people Yoram had just accused. They were the ones who brought the goods for the smugglers, so they got a free trip. They must have paid for their actions. After settling this matter, Soo-yeon quietly followed Yoram. Soo-yeon realized that he had been too harsh with Yoram earlier, so he decided to take the walkie-talkie and apologize to her. At that moment, a billboard suddenly fell over. Luckily, Yoram was able to catch the billboard in time. The boy standing next to it was also safe because of that. Only then did Yoram realize that although her job seemed small and net insignificant, it was also very important and could not be overlooked. That day, Yoram, Soo-yeon, and the entire customer service department were transferred to another area to work. When the leader of another department that worked with them came to greet them, Soo-yeon suddenly became extremely cold because this man had caused Soo-yeon to be paralyzed in one arm and one leg 15 years ago. This man is also Soo-yeon's older brother, named Dong-gun. Soo-yeon was in a traffic accident while trying to save her brother. Because of that, Soo-yeon's right arm and right leg were broken on the spot. After treatment, he was able to save his life, but since then, he has been disabled. Soo-yeon couldn't accept himself like this, so he went to the stairs and decided to end this miserable life. But when Soo-yeon pushed the wheelchair control lever, a PhD suddenly appeared to save him. Even luckier, through his years of research, the PhD created a metal leg and arm for Soo-yeon. From then on, Soo-yeon was able to restore his life like a normal person. That day at the airport, Soo-yeon accidentally met his brother, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Now Soo-yeon's brother is in charge of planning and operating the airport. It was obvious that Soo-yeon also recognized his brother, but Soo-yeon's eyes were extremely cold. It seemed that the two brothers were not happy to see each other again. Now the two were no different from strangers. After returning home, Dong-gun wondered why Soo-yeon could be so normal. So Dong-gun went to find Soo-yeon's job application, which stated that Soo-yeon was wearing a machine that assisted in his activities. This surprised Dong-gun. Later in the meeting, Dong-gun used the excuse that Soo-yeon wearing an electronic device would affect the safety of the airport and requested an investigation into Soo-yeon. As soon as he heard the news, Soo-yeon went to see Dong-gun. When they arrived at a deserted place, Soo-yeon asked Dong-gun why they had to investigate this. Dong-gun said that he did it because he wanted Soo-yeon to leave. Dong-gun said that Soo-yeon was still the same as before, that he liked to follow people around and annoy them. At that time, Dong-gun told Soo-yeon not to follow him, but Soo-yeon refused to listen. That's why Soo-yeon got into a traffic accident. It turned out that 12 years ago, Dong-gun was beaten up by a group of thugs and taken away. Soo-yeon was worried about his brother, so he chased after them on his motorbike. The other car, wanting to lose Soo-yeon, suddenly braked hard, causing Soo-yeon to not react in time and crash straight into the back of the car. Soo-yeon lay in a pool of blood looking at his brother. "Brother, please save me." But Dong-gun took the opportunity to escape. Now when Soo-yeon met his brother again, he was told that the accident happened because Soo-yeon chased Dong-gun. Soo-yeon was so angry that he grabbed his brother's collar. Soo-yeon really didn't understand if Dong-gun was his brother or not, but Dong-gun said, "Because my father remarried, we had that short-lived relationship." Other than the word unintended, Soo-yeon meant nothing to Dong-gun. Soo-yeon was extremely disappointed. He couldn't help but cry. Soo-yeon called his brother a bastard and turned around to leave. After that, he could only vent his anger on a metal plate next to him. After Soo-yeon left, Dong-gun silently shed tears. In fact, Soo-yeon didn't know that Dong-gun did it to protect Soo-yeon. Dong-gun was afraid that Soo-yeon would be hurt. How arrogant arrogant can a powerful woman be? Because Yo-rum stopped the woman from throwing away the customs seal. She now arrogantly demanded that Yo-rum kneel down and apologize. Her father is a member of the National Assembly. That's why she acted like that. It turned out that she had bought too many goods overseas, so her luggage was overloaded and sealed. She wanted to avoid customs duties, so she secretly pushed the luggage to the restroom. When she was about to tear off the seal, she was caught by the airport security staff who were about to leave work. So security staff Youngju called to report her case. At that moment, Yo-rum passed by. Hearing the two arguing, Yo-rum quickly stopped them. The woman was still about to throw away the seal, but was held back by Youngju. She immediately raised her hand to slap Youngju, but was easily restrained by Youngju. Because she was so angry, the woman bit Youngju's hand hard. Yo-rum saw this and went to stop her, but she slapped Yo-rum hard. Yo-rum was so angry that she was about to cry. Seeing that the woman was so stubborn, Youngju had no choice but to use force to control her. They then handed the woman over to the customs officer, but they did not know that they had bumped into someone they should not have. The woman claimed that she had been assaulted and forced Yo-rum and Youngju to kneel down and apologize. She also threatened them with her father by using his position as a member of the National Assembly. Because the other party's support was too great, the airport security team could only investigate this matter. Because Youngju had already finished work at that time, the employee card of Yo-rum's car that fell in the restroom was picked up by the airport security team. So they asked Yo-rum who the airport security officer who beat passenger was. Yo-rum didn't want to betray her friend, so she lied that she didn't know the other party. But the security team seemed to have guessed who the female security officer was after hearing Yo-rum's story. Very quickly, the airport's senior manager Hee-sung learned this information. In order to protect the airport's reputation, he ordered So-kun to have her staff immediately apologize to the passenger. Even if he had to kneel down, he had to settle this matter once and for all. At this time, Yo-rum didn't want her team leader to be embarrassed, so she agreed to apologize. It's no big deal to just make an employee kneel down anyway. Youngju already knew about this. Not wanting Yo-rum to suffer the consequences of her mistake, Youngju hurriedly ran to the airport. At this time, the other passenger was sitting in the room with a haughty expression. At this moment, Soo-yeon suddenly entered. The water heater in the room was broken, so Soo-yeon came here to fix it. So-kun quickly brought Yo-rum here. The female passenger still had a smug expression on her face. When Yo-rum was about to apologize, Soo-yeon's appearance surprised everyone. When Yo-rum was about to apologize, Soo-yeon next to her made a fuss. Soo-yeon's actions made Yo-rum realize something. She remembered Soo-yeon's previous words that if she didn't say what she thought was right, she would never hear what she wanted to hear. The manager next to her urged Yo-rum to apologize. At this time, Yo-rum told about what happened in the restroom. Then, Yo-rum asked the female passenger to apologize to her. Hearing that, the female passenger immediately became angry. She even said that she would find a lawyer to sue the airport. But at this moment, her voice came from the phone. Definitely don't tell my dad about this. If he finds out, he will beat me to death. It turned out that So-yeon had recorded this conversation with her lawyer while fixing the water heater. It turned out that she just wanted to scare everyone in the airport so that they would cancel the customs clearance. So-yeon appeared in time to help, making Yo-rum very touched. In the end, the female passenger could only vent her anger on her shirt. By the time Youngju arrived, everything had been resolved. Because of this, for the first time, Yo-rum was praised by team leader So-kun for doing a good job. This made Yo-rum very touched. She couldn't help but shed tears because she had to apologize every time before. She never thought about demanding justice for herself, but today, all her courage and strength were thanks to So-yeon. At this time, So-yeon was standing behind, silently looking at Yo-rum. After So-kun saw So-yeon, she praised his performance today as extremely excellent. When So-yeon was alone, he quietly looked at Yo-rum. Seeing Yo-rum so happy that she cried, So-yeon seemed to have gradually liked her. At this time, a vacuum cleaner robot was attracted by So-yeon's metal arm. The robot kept following So-yeon. So-yeon wanted to avoid this robot and ran towards Yo-rum. At this close distance, both of their hearts started to beat erratically. At the same time, at the airport, pregnant woman was about to give birth, but she did not want to give birth because her husband had not yet appeared. But she did not know that at this time, her husband had flown in from abroad and had just arrived at the airport when he was taken away by the airport staff because there was a problem with his passport. Seeing that the pregnant woman was determined that, if she could not meet her husband, she would not give birth, Yo-rum said, "I will definitely find your husband and bring him back." Yo-rum said this to ensure the safety of the pregnant woman and the baby. Only then did the pregnant woman agree to go to the central hospital next to the airport. Because her husband had previously used a fake passport, the immigration officer wanted to send him back to his country. The husband of the pregnant woman begged everyone here to let him see his newborn child and then leave, but he was accidentally refused by the immigration officer. On this side, Yo-rum hurriedly went to look for the husband of pregnant woman. She even sent his picture to Soo-yeon. Yo-rum told Soo-yeon that if he saw the person in the photo, she should tell her. At this time, Soo-yeon went to the exit office to fix the water purifier. Here, Soo-yeon accidentally discovered that the man in front of him was the person Yo-rum was looking for. Just at this moment, the immigration officer came to call the name of the husband of the pregnant woman, and the plane to his country was about to arrive. The immigration officer was preparing to put the husband of the pregnant woman on the plane. Soo-yeon quickly contacted Yo-rum and told her that the husband of the pregnant woman probably wouldn't be able to see his wife and children because the husband of the pregnant woman was about to fly back to his country. Yo-rum couldn't stand by and watch the husband of the pregnant woman, who was so close to his wife and children, still couldn't see them, so she decided to go see her superior and beg. At this time, the husband of the pregnant woman took the opportunity to go to the bathroom to call his wife. On the phone call, the two of them were extremely attached and desperate. Seeing this scene, the security officer standing next to him also felt heartbroken. When he came out of the restroom, he pushed the airport staff away and ran away. Soo-yeon saw this and quickly chased after him. He desperately ran away while Soo-yeon followed closely behind. He only stopped when he had nowhere to run. He begged Soo-yeon to let him see his wife and child, but Soo-yeon had no right to do so. At the critical moment, he took out a pen from his pocket and pointed it at Soo-yeon. Immediately after that, he stabbed Soo-yeon. The sound of metal clashing rang out. At this moment, the man was extremely surprised. Then Soo-yeon pulled out the pen in hand, but the man still did not stop. He rushed to attack Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon dodged by inertia, causing him to fall downstairs. Luckily, Soo-yeon caught him in time. Then Soo-yeon lifted him up with just a light lift. At this time, the security team ran over. Soo-yeon hurriedly stepped on the pen and put his arm behind his back. Soo-yeon, in order to hide his secret, told the airport security team that he was fine. But coincidentally, Dong-gun saw the scene just now. Dong-gun was extremely surprised by what had just happened. On the other side, Yo-rum told So-kun about this. At this time, Yo-rum also received a picture of the newborn baby. Yo-rum held the picture and begged So-kun to let their family meet. Finally, with So-kun's help, the whole family talked to each other through a glass. Although this man couldn't run to hug his wife and children, for this man, seeing his wife and children was enough to make him happy. Yo-rum and everyone standing nearby who saw this scene were also moved. After Soo-yeon returned to work, something unexpected happened. When Soo-yeon put down the pen, the metal paperclip and the fountain pen were suddenly attracted to his arm. It could be seen that his metal arm was malfunctioning. Soo-yeon thought that the arm was probably damaged by the pen earlier, so he sneaked into the changing room to check his arm. Fortunately, the problem was only temporary. At this time, not far from the airport, plane was preparing to land when the engines suddenly caught fire. All the passengers on the plane were scared. On the other side, Yo-rum had just finished work. She was preparing to pick up her mother at the airport when she suddenly saw the plane having an accident in the air. Then, all the employees at the airport received a text message about an emergency landing. When she learned that her mother was on the plane, Yo-rum was extremely worried. At this time, Soo-yeon was also preparing to get off work and go home. At that moment, he saw Yo-rum anxiously looking at the plane in the sky. This reminded Soo-yeon of how happy Yo-rum had been just now, so he guessed that there was someone she knew on the plane. Fortunately, there was no accident when the plane landed. The fire truck had been waiting here for a long time and started the rescue work. Seeing Yo-rum running out to find her mother regardless, Soo-yeon stopped her because that area was off limits. But Yo-rum was panicking and crying non-stop and said that her mother was on that flight. After knowing the situation, Soo-yeon called So-kun. So-yeon told So-kun that Yo-rum's mother was on the flight. He hoped that So-kun could let Yo-rum into the airport, but So-kun flatly refused Soo-yeon's request. Soo-yeon saw Yo-rum was extremely sad, so he decided to act on his own. On the way, Soo-yeon called Yo-rum. After asking for Yo-rum's mother's name, Soo-yeon immediately hung up. Then Soo-yeon quickly ran to the ambulance. He lied that he was ordered by his superiors to come here to help. After entering the airport, Soo-yeon hurriedly asked each passenger if they were Yo-rum's mother. This scene was also seen by the security guard Young-ju, who was standing next to. Young-jo was very curious why Soo-yeon appeared here. At this time, the news that someone was injured came from the plane. Soo-yeon immediately ran there and treated the woman's wound. After knowing that she was Yo-rum's mother, Soo-yeon was relieved. But when Soo-yeon received the glass of water, his arm became unusable and fell down. At this time, the rescue team immediately ran over. In order not to be exposed, Soo-yeon hurriedly hid. Finally, Yo-rum saw her mother come out safely. The mother and daughter excitedly hugged each other, while Soo-yeon stood silently beside them watching the two. Only then did Soo-yeon feel relieved to leave. Before leaving, Yo-rum's mother called Yo-rum and told her to thank the person who saved her mother on the plane. Then Yo-rum went to the security office to thank them, but Young-ju said that they did not save Yo-rum's mother. Young-ju also told Yo-rum to ask Soo-yeon Sooyeon. Sooyeon was with PhD at time. At this time, Yeoram called, but Sooyeon did not answer. After Sooyeon was treated by the PhD, he returned home. At this time, Yeoram sent a text message to meet Sooyeon at the first place they met. Yeoram brought Sooyeon's backpack that she left at work and stood there waiting for him. Sooyeon was wondering whether to go or not. The sky was getting darker and darker, but Yeoram still couldn't see Sooyeon's figure. It was now raining. Not knowing how much time had passed, when Yeoram raised her head, Sooyeon appeared in front of her. Yeoram asked if Sooyeon saved her mother at the airport, but Sooyeon denied it. When Yeoram said that Youngju had seen Sooyeon, he finally admitted it. Then Yeoram asked Sooyeon why she did that. Did Sooyeon like to do charity work in secret? Sooyeon immediately said no. Yeoram was curious. Then do you like me? This sentence made Sooyeon bewildered. The two looked at each other like that. It wasn't until the rain stopped that Sooyeon answered yes. Sooyeon had always felt inferior about his disability, but he was finally able to muster up courage to confess to Yeoram. Unexpectedly, the next day Yeoram came to find Sooyeon. Yeoram was curious why Sooyeon liked an ordinary person like her. Meanwhile, the two had only known and worked together for 3 months. Sooyeon said that it might take a few months or a few years to fall in love with someone, but for her, it only took him 3 seconds. This made Yeoram unable to understand. It turned out that many years ago, in a store, there was a place called Where Stars Fall. Sooyeon fell in love with Yeoram at first sight. The previous car accident was also Sooyeon secretly protecting Yeoram. At this time, a group of people passing by bumped into Yeoram, causing her to fall into Sooyeon's arms. At this time, Sooyeon felt the warmth of the other person, both warm and sweet, but beautiful moments are always short-lived. Seeing that the two of them were a bit embarrassed, Yeoram quickly left Sooyeon's arms, but Yeoram's arm accidentally pressed against Sooyeon's arm. Yeoram immediately sensed something. While Yeoram was still confused, Sooyeon quickly shook her hand away. Then he left in a panic. When Yeoram returned to her office and was about to get the file for her superior, she accidentally saw Sooyeon's resume on the table. Yeoram curiously read it. Unexpectedly, it said that Sooyeon was a level 1 disabled person. Seeing this, Yeoram was even more surprised. Yeoram didn't know what to do. Unsub asked what was going on between Yeoram and Sooyeon. Yeoram was about to say Ra when she stopped. At the same time, while checking the warehouse, the airport staff discovered a suitcase of unknown origin. The manager was furious. Did everyone consider this place their warehouse and just leave their suitcases here? If the manager found out who this suitcase belonged to, he would definitely fire that person. Yeoram stood up and claimed that the suitcase was hers. This made the manager furious. Yeoram explained that her lease had expired and she was planning to move to the company's apartment. Since she wouldn't be moving into the apartment until tomorrow, she could only leave her luggage here temporarily. After work, Yeoram dragged her suitcase and sat alone in front of the door. Now she had nowhere to go. Coincidentally, Sooyeon saw this scene. Sooyeon said that if Yeoram didn't mind, she could stay at his house for the night. Then, Yeoram followed Sooyeon to his house, but Yeoram thought for a while and still felt that this was inappropriate. When Yeoram was about to leave, Sooyeon called her back. He told her not to think about the relationship between the two of them. She was simply staying at his house for the night. Just like that, Yeoram was kept by Sooyeon. Sooyeon prepared dinner for Yeoram. When Yeoram picked up cup, the two of them accidentally touched each other's hands. At this time, Yeoram remembered the feeling this morning when she touched Sooyeon's hand, but she just looked at him silently. Although she was curious, she didn't ask much because she knew he didn't want to mention the past. Sooyeon avoided the issue because he was afraid that if he told her that he was disabled, she would disparage him. The next day, when Yeoram left Sooyeon's house, she accidentally ran into Youngju. Youngju had just moved into the apartment that day. Youngju thought Yeoram was also living here. At this time, Yeoram was extremely panicked and quickly explained that she knew a friend who lived here. When Yeoram arrived at work, she hurriedly told Sooyeon that she accidentally ran into Youngju this morning. Yeoram told Sooyeon not to tell anyone about her overnight stay at his house last night because she didn't want people to gossip about her. Sooyeon immediately agreed with her. But as Yeoram was leaving, there was a noise behind her. Sooyeon went over to see who it was and saw a dark figure opening the door and rushing out. When Yeoram was about to go to work, she accidentally saw Youngju's group discussing something. After Yeoram finished work and returned, she didn't expect that. Her colleagues were gossiping about her and Sooyeon. Yeoram was furious. Yeoram remembered that Youngju's group was talking and laughing just now, so she immediately confirmed that Youngju had said this. After going to see Youngju, Yeoram angrily scolded Youngju, but Youngju was confused and didn't understand what Yeoram was talking about. At this moment, Sooyeon appeared and pulled Yeoram away. He told her that when the two of them were talking in the storage room, someone was there and heard everything. Only then did Yeoram realize that she had wrongly accused Youngju. When Sooyeon came home from work, she saw Yeoram waiting for him downstairs. Tonight, Yeoram Yoram could move to the apartment that her company had assigned her. Then, Soo-yeon brought Yoram's luggage out to her. He also asked for the house number of the apartment Yoram was about to move to. As soon as Soo-yeon saw the house number, he knew that Yoram was assigned to live in the same house as Youngju. At this moment, Yoram was very surprised. She thought that she scolded Youngju like that during the day, so now she didn't dare to see Youngju. At this time, Soo-yeon told Yoram, "I heard that nothing in this world is a coincidence. Everything that happens in this life has a reason." Hearing this, Yoram was even more surprised, because when Yoram was little, her parents had also said this to her. So Yoram asked Soo-yeon if she knew Yoram's father. It turned out that when Soo-yeon and his brother were little, they often went to a store to play. The owner of the store was Yoram's father. At the airport, an arrogant customer poured a bottle of water on the head of an airport employee. Furthermore, the customer kept cursing at the employee. The employee tried to restrain himself and told the customer not to bring mineral water on the plane. The other passenger was very angry after hearing this and said that the airport staff grabbed his collar first. At this time, Yoram, who was next to him, showed the video. Seeing that there was solid evidence, the passenger became silent and bowed his head in shame. Soo-yeon saw that Yoram had promptly diffused the situation, so he looked at her and smiled proudly. That evening, Soo-yeon asked Yoram to go out for a walk. He lowered his head and looked at her hand. Suddenly, thought came to his mind. Then he took his left hand out of his pocket. Then he tried to put his hand close to hers, but he still did not have enough courage to hold her hand. When he gathered up his courage to hold her hand, she turned to him and told him that when she was 9 years old, her father left her. Yoram did not expect that Soo-yeon knew her father. Finally, Soo-yeon held Yoram's hand. At this moment, the two looked at each other. Yoram closed her eyes. Soo-yeon couldn't help but press his face close to hers. Just as the two were about to kiss, the sound of fighting was heard. Soo-yeon told Yoram to go call the police, and then he quickly kissed her on the lips. Soon after, Soo-yeon ran to where the group was fighting. The thug saw Soo-yeon minding other people's business and was about to teach him a lesson, but the thug who had just thrown a punch at Soo-yeon easily dodged it. Then Soo-yeon grabbed the thug's fist. The thug was in so much pain that he couldn't stop screaming. Another thug saw this and hit Soo-yeon's leg with a stick. The wooden stick shattered, but Soo-yeon's leg didn't move at all. Then Soo-yeon swung his arm, and the thug was thrown into the trash and passed out. Then Soo-yeon accidentally discovered that the person who was beaten was the security team leader Kyung-hoo. Just as Soo-yeon was wondering, someone behind him suddenly held an electric baton to him. Soo-yeon immediately fainted. Soo-yeon's prosthetic limb also started to smoke. By the time Yoram led the police to the scene, the group of people and Soo-yeon had disappeared. At this time, Kyung-hoo was taking the injured Soo-yeon to the PhD. After Soo-yeon woke up, his injured arm was bandaged by the PhD. Because his arm was severely burned, the muscles in his arm were also damaged. The PhD told Soo-yeon not to use a prosthetic arm anymore, or else the muscles in his arm might become necrotic. The PhD also told him to use a wheelchair to move around. The next day, Yoram was very worried when she heard that Soo-yeon did not go to work. She kept calling him, but no one answered. Soo-yeon woke up and saw Yoram's text messages and missed calls. He suddenly remembered what happened between the two of them in the past. At this time, Soo-yeon realized that he loved Yoram deeply. Even if he had to face the risk of necrosis, he did not want to be away from the person he loved. Then he put on his prosthetic arm and stood up. Next, he changed his clothes. While the PhD was still out, he secretly took PhD's car key and drove away. After the PhD found out, he quickly called Soo-yeon, but after seeing the PhD's call, Soo-yeon didn't pay attention. The PhD immediately contacted Seo-kun. The PhD Seo-kun that Soo-yeon's situation was extremely dangerous. It was very likely that Soo-yeon was going to the airport to find Yoram. So Seo-kun quickly went to ask Yoram, but she didn't know anything. Yoram worriedly called Soo-yeon and ran everywhere looking for him. Finally, she found him on the rooftop. Yoram worriedly asked Soo-yeon why he suddenly disappeared. She said she was very worried about him. Why didn't he answer her calls? She kept saying caring words to him which made him very happy. Then he told her that how about we start dating. The two looked at each other and then gave each other a passionate kiss. But happy moments don't last long. The PhD and Seo-kun are angrily waiting for Soo-yeon. The PhD criticizes why Soo-yeon acted on his own. Seo-kun notices lipstick on Soo-yeon's mouth and immediately realizes Soo-yeon's thoughts. Seeing that Soo-yeon is safe, Seo-kun smiles wickedly and then leaves. The PhD can't stand it, so he gives Soo-yeon a towel to wipe mouth. Although embarrassed, Soo-yeon is still very happy. At this time, Yoram still doesn't know about Soo-yeon's health condition, so she asks him out. The PhD stops Soo-yeon, but he stubbornly wants to go. Seeing Soo-yeon so stubborn, the doctor didn't know what to do. But when Soo-yeon got to the car, his right hand suddenly lost control. The key fell to the ground. This made him feel scared immediately. But a second later, Soo-yeon's arm recovered. The hand was only temporarily damaged. Soo-yeon thought everything was fine, but when he bent down to pick up key, he was stunned because his arms and legs couldn't move. Suddenly, his arm lost control again. His arm started to suck the car next to him. He tried his best to pull his hand out, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. At this time, the glass door cracked. He felt extremely helpless and hopeless. Then the glass door shattered, but his hand was still tightly sucked into the car body. What would you do if the person who bullied you in school grew up and shamelessly acted like she was very close to you? She was Minjung, the tour guide. Seeing that Yeoram working at the airport was very beneficial to Minjung's current job, Minjung excitedly ran to greet Yeoram. Minjung also said that she would have a friend to rely on in the future. This unusual attitude made Yeoram extremely surprised. Before Yeoram could say anything, Minjung snatched Yeoram's phone and saved her phone number in Yeoram's phone. After that, Minjung asked Yeoram to go out for lunch together. After Minjung left, Yeoram still couldn't calm down. This made Yeoram remember her past. Yeoram unconsciously clenched her fist, but as soon as Minjung went into the bathroom, her attitude completely changed. Minjung called her best friend to brag that she had just met Yeoram again, the person she had bullied in high school. Furthermore, at noon, Minjung asked Yeoram to help her make some VIP cards. After going out, Minjung immediately pasted the names of the passengers she was about to pick up on the railing. Coincidentally, this scene was seen by Yeoram. It was clear that Minjung's behavior was not in accordance with airport regulations, but Yeoram did not dare to go and say anything. Facing the person who had bullied her in high school, Yeoram was very scared, but in the end, Yeoram still mustered up the courage to go and remind Minjung. Minjung's expression immediately changed, but she still tried to act happy and tore off the name tag. After that, Yeoram refused Minjung's invitation to lunch. Yeoram said that she hoped that they would not have anything to do with each other in the future. After saying that, Yeoram left. Although Yeoram was extremely panicked, she was still glad that she had the courage to do so. But Yeoram did not know that Minjung did not intend to let Yeoram go so easily. On Soo-yeon's side, his arm was still sucked tightly by the car. At this moment, Unsub coincidentally passed by. Hearing the sound of broken glass, Unsub went there to see. He really could not believe what he was seeing. The glass door was shattered. Glass shards were scattered all over the ground, and the car door was also severely deformed. At this time, Soo-yeon was hiding behind the car. His arm was bleeding non-stop. There was something wrong with Soo-yeon's robotic arm. At this time, Soo-yeon just prayed that no one would see him, but Unsub still saw him. After that, Unsub took Soo-yeon home. But at this time, the items in the room attracted Unsub's attention. After going out, Unsub looked towards Soo-yeon's house. It seemed that Unsub had realized something. At this time, inside the house, the muscles on Soo-yeon's arm were more seriously injured. After finishing the bandage, the PhD suspected that what happened just now was due to a problem with chip in Soo-yeon's body. To avoid a similar incident from happening again, the PhD advised Soo-yeon to temporarily stop wearing prosthetic limbs, but Soo-yeon still wanted to hold on for another month. It turned out that last night, Soo-yeon was electrocuted and fell to the ground, so Kyung-hoo discovered his secret. Soo-yeon was afraid that after Kyung-hoo revealed his secret to everyone, he would no longer be able to live like a normal person, so Soo-yeon asked Kyung-hoo to give him a month. After a month, Soo-yeon would automatically resign. Soo-yeon did this because he wanted to spend his last month working at the airport with Yeoram, whom he loved. Soo-yeon didn't want Yeoram to know that he was disabled. Early the next morning, Soo-yeon put on his prosthetic limbs and the watch his brother gave him and wore a smart suit to work at the airport. Soo-yeon and Yeoram worked together again, but this time both of their phones ring at the same time. The person calling Soo-yeon is Unsub. Unsub wants to meet Soo-yeon to talk about last night. On the other side, Yeoram receives a call from Minjung. It turns out that Minjung is behind Yeoram. Knowing about Yeoram and Soo-yeon's relationship, Minjung threatens Yeoram to give her 4 VIP passes, or else Minjung will tell Soo-yeon and Yeoram's colleagues about how Yeoram was bullied in high school. Yeoram leaves angrily because she doesn't want Soo-yeon to know about her miserable past. Yeoram goes to find Donggun, the person in charge of the passes, but Yeoram doesn't know what to say. At this time, Donggun tells Yeoram that he is Soo-yeon's older brother. Donggun was about to tell Soo-yeon about his body when Soo-yeon suddenly appeared at the door. Soo-yeon asked Donggun what he wanted to do. Donggun took the opportunity to ask Yeoram that last time she saw Soo-yeon's profile, it said that Soo-yeon was a level 1 disabled person. So did Yeoram want to know what was hidden under Soo-yeon's clothes? When she saw Donggun about to tell Yeoram his secret, Soo-yeon suddenly couldn't control his emotions. When Soo-yeon's arms shook, all the metal objects in the room fell to the ground one by one. At this moment, Donggun and Yeoram were both surprised by what they saw. Seeing this, Soo-yeon quickly brushed the metal objects from his hands away. Soo-yeon hugged her arm and quickly ran away. Yeoram saw the metal objects scattered on the ground and knew that Soo-yeon had a secret that he didn't want others to know. At this moment, Soo-yeon took off his jacket and wrapped it around his arm, running into the elevator because he didn't want want anyone to know his secret. But when Soo-yeon was about to enter the elevator, he saw a pile of metal objects in front of him, so he didn't dare to enter the elevator anymore. Then he ran into the storage room alone to hide. At this moment, Yeoram used the walkie-talkie to call Soo-yeon, but he remained silent. He was disabled, so he didn't know how to face her. Soo-yeon felt extremely uncomfortable. Not long after, Unsub also came to find Soo-yeon. Last night, Unsub saw a wheelchair in Soo-yeon's house. Unsub suspected that Soo-yeon's body was not healthy. Soo-yeon wanted Unsub to keep it a secret, but Unsub also loved Yeoram. Unsub didn't want Yeoram to love someone who was not healthy. Unsub believed that there should be no deception in love. He hoped Soo-yeon would be honest with Yeoram. Unsub gave Soo-yeon until the end of the week to tell Yeoram his secret. In the office, Yeoram looked at Soo-yeon with a sad face because she also had a miserable past that she didn't want Soo-yeon to know. But at this moment, someone threatened to tell Soo-yeon about Yeoram's high school bullying. When Yeoram didn't know what to do, So-kun came over. So-kun placed 4 VIP passes on Yeoram's table. It turned out that So-kun was also at the restaurant at that time and knew about Yeoram's threat. But now So-kun said that if Yeoram held back, she would be threatened forever. So-kun hoped that Yeoram could think carefully and make a decision. Then Yeoram took the pass to see Min-jung. Min-jung was very happy to see Yeoram get the pass so quickly, but Min-jung didn't know that Yeoram had no intention of giving her the pass. Yeoram told Min-jung that although the time Yeoram was bullied was very difficult, thanks to her mother's care, Yeoram overcame that time. Now Yeoram is no longer afraid of Min-jung. After saying that, Yeoram tore up the 4 passes in her hand and then walked away without looking back. When Soo-yeon got home, he told the PhD that he seemed to know why his body kept having strange phenomena. The PhD asked what caused the error. Soo-yeon immediately replied, "It's Yeoram." It turned out that this phenomenon had already appeared the first time he met Yeoram. Later, as Soo-yeon's feelings for Yeoram grew deeper, the frequency of Soo-yeon's equipment malfunctioning also increased. But now Soo-yeon was deeply in love with Yeoram, so he didn't know how he would face her in the future. Just then, Yeoram called. Soo-yeon originally intended not to answer the phone, but the PhD still gave him the phone. Yeoram told him what happened that morning. She said if he didn't want to say it, he didn't have to. Yeoram was sure that he had a reason for not saying it. Yeoram understood Soo-yeon's feelings. This made him very touched. The next day, Soo-yeon pulled Yeoram to the rooftop and asked her if she thought he was strange. Yeoram thought that people were inherently different, so she didn't care about his strangeness. At this time, Soo-yeon told Yeoram that it was because of her that he often had problems. Hearing this, Yeoram was very curious, but Soo-yeon didn't say why. He just raised his hand to gently stroke her hair. At this moment, Soo-yeon really wanted to kiss her, but he didn't have the courage to do so. He just apologized to her and hoped that she could give him a little more time. At the airport, a man holding a knife was holding an airport employee by the neck. Yeoram, despite the danger, went to stop him, but she was slashed by him. Her bag was cut open and fell to the ground. Blood kept dripping onto it. Seeing this, everyone around was extremely scared. Yeoram looked at her wound and sat down on the ground in fear. At this time, the airport security team ran over. The man holding the knife was quickly subdued. Yeoram gradually fainted while Youngju called. Youngju hurriedly called Soo-yeon. When Soo-yeon heard that Yeoram was injured, his face showed obvious tension. Suddenly, a man bumped into Soo-yeon, causing his phone to fall down the stairs. Soo-yeon wanted to bend down to pick it up, but he tried hard but couldn't. A second later, he fell from the wheelchair. He dragged his disabled body forward, but the phone was right in front of him, but felt like it was far away. When he finally got the phone, he realized that the other end of the line had turned off. On this side, when the medical staff arrived to treat Yeoram's wound, the man took advantage of the moment when security guard Deki was distracted to attack him with his head. Then the man ran away. By the time Deki chased him to the airport gate, the man had already run away. Soo-yeon sat on the ground and looked at his disabled body in great pain. The feeling of beautiful love was just a distant dream. Then he carried his wounded body to the airport to find So-kun. He asked who had injured Yeoram. So-kun said that a female employee at the airport broke up with her lover. Her lover did not accept it, so he came to the airport to threaten her. Yeoram went to stop him, so this happened. After knowing the story, Soo-yeon did not say much, just clenched his fist and then left angrily. Then Soo-yeon went to see the employee to ask about it. From there, Soo-yeon learned about the employee's ex-lover and learned about the internet cafe he often went to. At that time, he was sitting in the internet cafe happily playing games. He did not realize that danger was approaching. When he came out of the internet cafe and was about to light a cigarette, suddenly someone grabbed his shirt and threw him to the ground. The person who came kept punching him in the face. Then this person came and grabbed him and lifted him up. At this time, he was still arrogant and kept cursing. He even took out a knife from his pocket and prepared to counterattack. But Soo-yeon did not give him a chance. Soo-yeon threw another punch at the man's face, scaring him to death and running away while screaming, but he was still pulled back and beaten again. again. Then the airport security team received a phone call from a stranger. When they went to the restroom and opened the door, they saw the man who threatened the airport staff yesterday being brutally beaten and tied up there. At this time, Soo-yeon went to Yeorum's bedside. Seeing the person he loved injured, he was extremely heartbroken. The next day, the man was taken to the police station. Yeorum also came to cooperate with police investigation. The man saw Yeorum and gave her an evil smile, which scared her very much. Immediately, Soo-yeon reached out and pushed Yeorum aside to protect her. After the man saw Soo-yeon, he immediately recognized Soo-yeon as the one who hit him yesterday. So the man immediately lowered his head in fear. Before leaving, the man remembered Soo-yeon's name. Soo-yeon didn't know that this man would bring him trouble in the future. On the other side, the man's boss was Ro-woon. He went to see Dong-gun and wanted Dong-gun to bail out his junior, but Dong-gun immediately refused. Then Ro-woon was curious because the person who hit his junior was also named Soo-yeon. This reminded Ro-woon of Dong-gun's younger brother who had an accident, who seemed to also be named Soo-yeon. At this moment, Dong-gun suddenly felt nervous. He kept denying it. Dong-gun advised Ro-woon to manage his juniors well. When Dong-gun left, Ro-woon began to investigate Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon still did not know that he was targeted by a group of bad guys because he was protecting his girlfriend. An accident made Soo-yeon extremely disappointed in her brother because at that time, the brother saw Soo-yeon lying on the ground, gasping for breath, but still ran away. Actually, Soo-yeon did not know that Dong-gun could not escape. He was still caught by Ro-woon's group. It turned out that Dong-gun had evidence of Ro-woon's crimes in his hands. Soo-yeon saw Ro-woon's subordinates take Dong-gun away because they wanted Dong-gun to hand over the evidence, but the disc with the evidence was left in the Where the Stars Fell. The owner gave it to Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon went to find her brother to give the evidence disc, which caused the accident. Ro-woon then asked Dong-gun to hand over the disc containing the evidence, but Dong-gun said he had lost the disc. Ro-woon angrily slapped Dong-gun. Then Ro-woon threatened Dong-gun with Soo-yeon, who was seriously injured and about to die. In order to protect the younger brother, Dong-gun begged Ro-woon not to hurt his younger brother. 12 years later, Dong-gun became an airport operations manager. Dong-gun went to the airport to work for Ro-woon, but he suddenly met Soo-yeon, who was also working there. Dong-gun was afraid that Soo-yeon would get caught up in this and be in danger, so he deliberately said harsh words. That day, the device on Soo-yeon's hand suddenly malfunctioned. Dong-gun was very surprised when he saw this. Then Dong-gun thought of a way to get rid of Soo-yeon. Dong-gun went to see the airport security team leader Kyung-hoo and used the excuse that Soo-yeon was wearing a magnetic device on his hand that would affect the machines at the airport to ask Kyung-hoo to let Soo-yeon quit. The next day, Kyung-hoo and Seo-kun went to see Soo-yeon. They assigned Soo-yeon to work elsewhere. This made Soo-yeon confused. Just then, Dong-gun suddenly appeared. Soo-yeon realized that his transfer was related to Dong-gun, so Soo-yeon asked to talk to Dong-gun privately. Soo-yeon said that if Dong-gun didn't want to see Soo-yeon like that, why didn't Dong-gun resign? Dong-gun said that there were some people who were planning a dangerous plan, and he was just a small piece of the game. Dong-gun hoped that Soo-yeon would leave before he got hurt. Soo-yeon couldn't understand Dong-gun's words. Not long after, Soo-yeon patrolled the airport and saw Dong-gun talking to a man. When she saw the man's face clearly, Soo-yeon realized that the man was the one who had beaten Dong-gun that year. Soo-yeon couldn't understand why Dong-gun was sitting with that man. Soo-yeon went to see Dong-gun to ask. Soo-yeon originally thought that Dong-gun was feeling guilty about the past and didn't dare to face him, but in reality, it was because of those people. This made Soo-yeon misunderstand Dong-gun even more, but Dong-gun just coldly warned Soo-yeon. Dong-gun hoped that Soo-yeon would disappear from Dong-gun's sight. Soo-yeon looked at Ro-woon without knowing that the man who had assaulted Yeorum before was Ro-woon's junior. That night, Soo-yeon and Yeorum went home together. On the way, the two happily held hands. Soo-yeon placed a kiss on Yeorum's lips. He intended to tell her about his body, so Soo-yeon invited Yeorum to his house. Soo-yeon told Yeorum to turn away while he went into the room alone. Then he took off his jacket and shirt and slowly turned around. Soo-yeon said that Yeorum could turn around now. Yeorum thought that Soo-yeon wanted to go further with her. She was extremely nervous and kept explaining, but when she turned around, the scene in front of her made her freeze and not know what to say. Soo-yeon said that this was his secret. To relieve her stress, Yeorum kept drinking water. When Soo-yeon finished changing and went out, he asked Yeorum if she could accept his body like this. Although Yeorum didn't say anything, she forgot to put down the glass of water before leaving. It was obvious that Yeorum still couldn't hide her surprise, but when Yeorum went out, Soo-yeon suddenly discovered that he had a nosebleed. He didn't know that because his arm had been injured before and he often used a prosthetic arm. His right arm was now severely bruised. The next day, Yoram saw Soo-yeon sitting sadly on the chair, so she grabbed his hand. Then she pulled him to the deserted hallway. Then she pushed him against the wall. At this time, Soo-yeon was extremely nervous. Yoram told Soo-yeon that after returning home yesterday, she thought about it all night. She was willing to accept everything from him. She was willing to give him her love. At this time, Soo-yeon was touched by Yoram's words. He turned around and pressed her against the wall. At this time, he looked at her with passionate eyes. The two hugged each other tightly to feel their love for each other. On the other side, extremely sad because he had just received Soo-yeon's health check report. He discovered that Soo-yeon's arm muscles were seriously infected, so Soo-yeon had to check them more carefully. So the PhD called Soo-yeon and told him to come back, but he refused. Soo-yeon said he was fine, so there was no need to check, and then he turned off his phone. That evening, Soo-yeon, Yoram, and their colleagues went out to dinner together. Soo-yeon sat on the sofa like a child watching Yoram playing, was extremely happy, but soon after, his nosebleed continued to bleed, so he rushed into the bathroom to wash it. Unexpectedly, he saw that the bruises on his hands had spread to his neck. The PhD's advice made him realize the seriousness of the problem. After returning, Yoram asked Soo-yeon if he wanted to go on a trip with her on the upcoming vacation. At this time, Soo-yeon just looked at Yoram without answering because he didn't know if he could live until then. He hugged her tightly, but his heart was filled with worry. When they returned home, the PhD went to see Yoram and told her about Soo-yeon's health condition. The doctor hoped that Yoram could persuade Soo-yeon to quickly agree to treatment. After the doctor left, Yoram felt very miserable. The next day, Yoram and Soo-yeon were sent by their superiors to the supermarket to buy things. After getting in the car, Yoram kept asking Soo-yeon if he was okay. She didn't even let him do it when carrying things. She carried all the newly bought items to the car by herself. This made Soo-yeon unable to understand. When the two returned to the office, Yoram's unusual behavior made Soo-yeon suspicious. Soo-yeon asked Yoram if she had met PhD. When Soo-yeon asked repeatedly, Yoram had to tell him what the PhD had told her yesterday. She hoped that he could take off the machines on his body so that his body could gradually recover. But at this moment, Soo-yeon suddenly got angry and told her to stop talking. Then Soo-yeon angrily left. Next, he met the PhD. The PhD told Soo-yeon that he had to take off all the machines on his body. Missing the best treatment time could put his life in danger. But Soo-yeon didn't want treatment. He wanted to live a normal life. He didn't want to live in a wheelchair. After saying that, he went out, but once again he got a nosebleed. When he left, he didn't know that from afar, there were two people in black clothes following him. Soo-yeon ran to the park alone. Suddenly a bright light shone on his face. Two cars stopped in front of where he was sitting. Then a group of thugs with sticks got out. At this time, Rowoon came over. He wanted to teach Soo-yeon a lesson. Rowoon said to Soo-yeon, "I heard that not long ago you taught my juniors a lesson, right? I want to know how you did it. Show me your ability." Then a group of people with sticks came and surrounded Soo-yeon. Not long after, Soo-yeon was beaten to the ground, but the bad guys didn't know that Soo-yeon didn't attack just now because he was afraid of beating them to death. Faced with the current situation, Soo-yeon couldn't hold back anymore and grabbed a wooden stick. Then he used his hand to break it. Then Soo-yeon grabbed one of them by the collar and threw him far away. Then Soo-yeon kicked another one into the air. This scene scared the group of people very much. Soo-yeon went straight to Rowoon and said, "Do you want to hit me again?" Rowoon was extremely angry. After Yoram returned and saw Soo-yeon injured, she was very worried. She was worried and wanted to take him to the hospital, but he said he was fine. Then Yoram took Soo-yeon home. She carefully treated his wound. Soo-yeon suddenly wanted to have this woman forever. Suddenly Soo-yeon asked Yoram if he wanted to sleep here. Yoram was embarrassed and didn't know what to do. Then she hurriedly took her things and left. But as soon as she reached the door, she turned back. She kissed Soo-yeon on the cheek and said goodnight. At this moment, Soo-yeon felt very happy. On the other side, Rowoon angrily called Donggun and asked Donggun what was going on with Soo-yeon. Donggun didn't want his younger brother to get involved in this, so he said he didn't know Soo-yeon. After saying that, Donggun hung up the phone. Rowoon saw many of his juniors injured and his beloved car badly damaged, so he vowed to make Soo-yeon pay dearly. Standing in front of the mirror, Soo-yeon looked at his severely infected arm. He knew that his life was in danger, but in order to see the person he loved every day, he still risked his life to go to work at the airport. But soon after, he gradually lost consciousness. His nosebleed continued to flow. Yoram suggested that he go to the hospital, but he still said he was fine. Then he hurriedly went to the bathroom to wash off the blood. Yoram was extremely worried outside. Suddenly, a group of people came inside and surrounded Soo-yeon. It was clear that they came here to pick a fight with him. At this time, the leader walked in front of Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon recognized him as the one who stabbed Yoram at the airport. He proudly bragged in front of Soo-yeon that he had a good boss. The boss not only wrote a bail for him, but also paid for his release. He was soon released. At this time, Yeoram saw that Soo-yeon was in danger and hurriedly went to find the airport security team, but when they arrived, Soo-yeon was no longer there. Then they extracted the camera and found Soo-yeon's location, so the security team went down to the underground parking lot to prevent the strangers from taking Soo-yeon away. But Soo-yeon stepped out and told Deki not to stop them. Soo-yeon was afraid because he would hurt many other people, but Deki insisted that Soo-yeon not go with the others. While the two sides were struggling, Kyung-hoo asked everyone in the security team to leave. It turned out that Kyung-hoo had just told Dong-gun about Soo-yeon. Dong-gun said to let Soo-yeon go with the others. Dong-gun promised to take Soo-yeon back. Soo-yeon let the others take her to an abandoned forest. After receiving the news, Dong-gun rushed here. Dong-gun hoped that Ro-woon could forgive his younger brother, but Ro-woon insisted on killing Soo-yeon. Dong-gun had no choice but to tell Ro-woon that if he didn't want the tape from 12 years ago to be released to everyone, then he should let Soo-yeon go. Ro-woon thought Dong-gun had lost the tape. Now that he knew the truth, Ro-woon was furious. Ro-woon was so angry that he punched Dong-gun and knocked him down. Soo-yeon saw this scene and started to fight back against the bad guys. At this moment, a thug with a stick knocked Dong-gun unconscious. Soo-yeon wanted to go save his brother but was held down by the bad guys. Then Ro-woon took Dong-gun out. Ro-woon told his men to throw Dong-gun into the sea. This scene was seen by Deki. Then Ro-woon drove away. At this time, Soo-yeon was still fighting alone in the factory with the bad guys. Soo-yeon showed his superior fighting ability. He knocked down one person after another. The man who had harmed Yeoram was so scared that he didn't know what to do. He opened the door to run away. But at this moment, Deki came and successfully controlled him. At this time, Soo-yeon opened the door. He just pushed it hard, and the heavy iron door immediately flew out. Seeing the thugs lying motionless and in pain in front of him, Deki was extremely surprised. Soo-yeon went to the man who had injured Yeoram and lifted him up with one hand. Soo-yeon asked him if he knew where Ro-woon had taken Dong-gun. At this time, Dong-gun had been taken to the beach. When the thugs got out of the car, Deki drove Soo-yeon over. The thugs saw this and quickly opened the trunk to get sticks. When they walked towards Soo-yeon, Dong-gun saw Soo-yeon in front. Dong-gun remembered the scene where Soo-yeon had saved him before. This time, Dong-gun didn't want Soo-yeon to be in danger because of him, so he quickly crawled over to the driver's seat and started the car and drove straight into the thugs. Unexpectedly, not only did the car not hit the thugs, it also put Dong-gun in danger. Just like that, the car was hanging on the beach and could fall down at any moment. Just as the car was about to fall down, Soo-yeon suddenly appeared. Everyone around looked at Soo-yeon in surprise. Because he was using one arm to pull the car, he tried his best to pull the car to the shore. But because he was injured, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. Dong-gun didn't want to involve his younger brother, so he shouted loudly, "Let go, Soo-yeon, let go." Soo-yeon tried to endure the pain and refused to let go. Just like that, the car was pulled to the shore by Soo-yeon. Only when Soo-yeon saw that Dong-gun was no longer in danger did a smile appear on his face covered in sweat and tears. Because Soo-yeon saw Dong-gun coming to save him, this proved that Dong-gun still cared about him. But when Soo-yeon returned, his body was too tired. Yeoram saw Soo-yeon in front of her and rushed over. Soo-yeon couldn't hold on any longer and knelt down. When Soo-yeon fainted, Yeoram ran to hug him. Yeoram saw Soo-yeon was seriously ill and was heartbroken. Then she opened her bag and took out an electronic device and remembered the PhD's words. Soo-yeon must stop so that Soo-yeon can continue to live. This device could stop the machines on Soo-yeon's body, but at this time she was very hesitant and couldn't do anything. The next day when Soo-yeon woke up, he saw Yeoram lying next to him. He knew that she had taken care of him all night. A happy smile suddenly appeared on his face. After waking up, Yeoram prepared breakfast for Soo-yeon, but she saw that he refused to take off the support machine. This made her feel very awkward. The life he chose, can others arbitrarily stop it? After going to work, Seo-kun went to see Yeoram and told her that Soo-yeon had just submitted the resignation. At this time, Yeoram had a bad feeling. She suddenly couldn't help but burst into tears. What should she do? She wouldn't be able to see Soo-yeon anymore. Then Yeoram went to see Soo-yeon and asked him why he resigned. She also hoped that Soo-yeon could remove the machine to treat his illness. She was willing to be Soo-yeon's arms and legs. She just hoped that he wouldn't leave her alone. However, Soo-yeon would rather die than remove the machine. This made Yeoram cry bitterly. Early the next morning, Yeoram woke up and saw Soo-yeon sleeping soundly. In order for him to continue living, she gently got up and took out the device that PhD gave her. Just as Yeoram was hesitating with tears in her eyes, Soo-yeon suddenly woke up and grabbed her hand. Yeoram told Soo-yeon that he must live on. At this time, Soo-yeon did not stop Yeoram anymore. Then Yeoram bent down and gave Soo-yeon a happy kiss. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. Yeoram was working at the airport, and suddenly she noticed some cleaning girls discussing something. So Yeoram went to ask. It turned out that someone had caused trouble just now. A young man tried to stop them, causing the iron bar to deform. Yoram was extremely excited after hearing this because she knew that the only person who could do this was Soohyun. So Yoram immediately ran to look everywhere. A cleaning robot caught Yoram's attention. Seeing the familiar back, Yoram was so excited that she burst into tears. When Soohyun turned around, Yoram realized that it was the person she had been waiting for. At this time, Yoram both cried and laughed as she ran towards Soohyun. Then she hugged him tightly and felt the beauty of happiness. Although their love had to go through many difficulties, those who are in love will definitely come together. I hope you can also find true love like Soohyun and Yoram. Now goodbye and see you again in the next movie.